So we're here with Ruben Palomares, also known as Rocky by many, Guido from the streets. We're at Elite Pro Boxing. And Ruben, we want to thank you for your time today.
Thanks again, because to me it's a privilege to always be able to share what God has done in my life.
Tell us a little bit about the trauma you experienced from a very abusive stepfather who you watched beat your mom and beat you at times.
It happened a few times when I was a little kid when I watched him do that to my mom. And my little brothers weren't around, they're probably too little, but it affected me in a lot of ways because I saw that, but I couldn't do anything about it because I was too little to do anything about it. And that kind of seeded a lot of anger, resentment towards him and just people being bullied or injustice to innocent, weak people.
You've always hated bullies, and you never really ran with a crowd, so to say, or gang-banged. But you found salvation through boxing, through the youth boxing program. Tell us how that started.
I was real young, and I like boxing, I like violence, I like fighting. So I was a little street fighter. I fought in the street growing up. I didn't like to be disrespected or anything growing up. My uncle instilled that in me when I was little, so I already knew that, hey, don't be disrespectful. You gotta stand up to yourself, and you gotta handle yourself, no matter who they are. They're big, small, you gotta fight them because they have to respect you. So I knew that I wanted to know how to fight because I didn't want to just be a street fighter and get jumped or get into fights and not win. I wanted to win fights. I knew that boxing was something I really had a passion for. At 10 years old, I tried karate at the YMCA, but it wasn't something I really was driven, I guess. It didn't drive me, it didn't motivate me, but when I heard about the Holland Blake Youth Center in East LA in Boyle Heights, and I got on the bus one day. I was a real young kid. My buddy and I went on the bus, and we took off to First Street and by Chicago Street in Boyle Heights, the Holland Blake Youth Center. I met the trainer there. I told him, hey, I want to box. He said, oh, yeah, okay, we'll get in the ring. First day, throws me into the ring, and I got a taste of sparring. I got to spar with somebody who was better than me, but he didn't try to beat me up. It was just like to test me out, see what I was made of, and see if I was going to come back. I fell in love with it. Second day I'm back, I'm ready to go again. And from there I just started boxing. My passion was to go to the Olympics and then become a world champion. And then from there become a mentor, role model for the kids in my area where I grew up.
And you mentioned you had a couple really important mentors in your life, one being Al Stanky.
Al Stanky was one of them. He was a LAPD, active LAPD, and I saw how he treated us. But also Memo Aurela was a mentor of mine because they were both my trainers, and I really learned a lot from them. I learned things about life, about the streets, and also about discipline, about the passion for boxing, what's inside, the drive inside you as a fighter, as a warrior. What it is to be a warrior inside the ring, what you have to have, not just heart or what they call courage, heart. You have to have intelligence too. The sport's not just about brawling, it's about intelligence, wisdom.
A lot of youngsters join gangs because they don't want to get punked out in the streets, but they left you alone because they knew you had hands.
I think that's one of them, and they also saw me upcoming as a boxer, a 1992 Olympic hopeful, that they actually encourage kids that were actually doing good to keep doing good. And I think that was one of the biggest things for me, that they respected that.
You know, the Olympic hopeful dream was set in motion by a lot of the guys you were working out with in the gym. Tell us about some of the pros or semi-pros and Golden Glove guys you were working out with.
I started sparring with, of course, Palomares, who won the 1984 Olympics. In 1985, I was sparring with him when he came back. Jose Arreola, who was a national champion, he's 1988 Olympics. Adrian Arreola, who was a champion, he was actually a world champion at one point. Oscar De La Hoya, Shane Mosley, I grew up sparring with those guys. Rafael Rela, I fought Rafael Relas. So I was sparring against some good fighters out there that were actually ranked. And it helped me build my confidence. If I could get down with these guys and handle myself with these guys, that means I actually am developing my boxing even better. I knew what I heard from the people that were around me when I was a little kid, the cops talking about like cop stories. I knew that's what I wanted to do. It sounded like fun. It also sounded like a good position to be a good like role model for people. So I said, heck yeah, that's what I want to do. I like
this saying that we always go back to is, all roads to hell are paved with good intentions, right?
Yes.
My thoughts about Ruben and his group, or him personally, was be careful. It was a state of be ready. Being a gang member, I have to say there's different types of gang members. There's some of us that just operate on the street corner level. Then there's those of us who are in that and a little higher. I don't like tooting my horn, but I was a pretty decent gang member, I feel. And guys like us, or my particular group of gang members, because we had to affiliate and work with other gang members and other gangs, and we were the type of gang members that we just looked at them like they're an adversary. You all know, like, if you've been in the game, you got to respect your adversary. Don't underestimate them. Don't play with them. Be very careful. At the same time, be ready to go, because they're ready to go as well. This group of gentlemen were not playing, and just like we weren't, we had to be ready. And we just looked at them like, I'm doing my job, they're doing their job. If I was a good enough gang member, they're not going to get me on shit. If I slip up, it was his job to get me anyway.
Yeah.
You know, that was the game. I mean, I'm not going to deny that might have happened, but at the same time, I think there was probably more along the lines of be very careful when you go into the Rampart area. Being a Valley gang member, I know damn well we knew what time it was when we crossed into that. I would say starting at the Silver Lake area, the Echo Park, we knew damn well when we're going up there for business, for social gatherings, be on your fucking toes, because some of these cops aren't playing, you know? But I also grew up in the 90s where it was like, what's going on today was different. We grew up where cops will fuck you up. And it wasn't like we didn't bitch and moan about it either.
Took a beating.
We took the beating, we shut our fucking mouth, and we went home at the end of the night. A lot of these guys say with all these, I'm not saying they're not right, but what I am gonna say is there's just a lot of whining and complaining more like, but when you're committing crime, you really don't need to be whining about your rights.
Yeah, when you're a gangster and you're about the business, you already know what time it is. When you're doing your dirt, you know that there is no real rights in that per se, because you're robbing, doing what you're doing, moving that dope. It's like anything. If you're a regular citizen, nobody's gonna hassle the regular citizen. They got the rights, but when you're bullying and robbing the regular citizen, then you become our prey. We're going after you. I
mean, I agree with that. When I got jumped into a gang, I knew damn well that I knew what I was doing, and we weren't choir boys.
You're now deep in crash. You're a battle-tested police officer, and you're getting almost addicted to the adrenaline, the rush, and you're assigned to the most notorious gang ever, the Mara Salvatrucha, the MS-13. This is prior to them
being 13.
Being 13. So they're renegades, and they're proving their point out on the streets.
Yeah, they're fighting.
Tell our audience how vicious these dudes were and what kind of some of their rackets were.
A lot of them during that time were they'll shoot it out with anybody, even the cops. They won't get on their knees sometimes because they think they're getting shot by, like in El Salvador, they're having the wars up there. They won't go on their knees, they'll fight you. They'll rape their own women, they'll shoot their own people, extort, rob their own people. It was ruthless at that time. And they put a lot of fear in their own people. People that knew that they could take money from, rob them, and intimidate. They could rape their daughters and intimidate them. They wouldn't even want to press charges on them. And during that time, they were building their reputation because they started into the real gangster stuff. It wasn't right away. They were more like heavy metalers in the beginning. And by that time in the 90s, they were already full-blown gangsters, gang banging hard. Selling dope in the area, extorting each other, robbing, collecting debts. They were running the areas that they were connected to, running the parks where the dope was at. They were trying to just take territory. But in the area that I work, Rampart Division, it's no joke. These guys knew how to beat the system by intimidating a witness. So you're the victim. You just robbed the victim. But you say, you go ahead and tell the cops, we're going to kill you and your family. The victims are going to give up the money. They're not going to tell the cops. They're going to tell Rampart C.R.A.S.H, hey, I got robbed by this gangster named so-and-so, but we cannot do nothing about it because we're scared and fear for our life that we filed a report on him, we filed charges on him, he's gonna kill us and our family. So, but please help us, do something about it. So I'm like, well, what do you want me to do about it since you guys ain't trying to take your actions? So what we do is that's when we put dope on the guy. I know he's dirty for some robberies. He's dirty with a gun. He robbed at gunpoint. He maybe robbed 3 people. That's 3 robberies right there. Different family members, but guess what? I'm gonna still book him on some dope charges so I can get rid of him and he stopped being a troublemaker in the area, and my victims are gonna be happy. So to me, it was like, hey, vigilante police work works. These gangsters ain't gonna beat us. They're not gonna beat the system. They're gonna keep bullying these individuals out here, these victims, making think they're gonna get away with it. There's no consequences. And I know they'll probably get themselves killed out there later on by their enemies or other stuff. They will, maybe, most likely, but at that time, the victims were the victims, and I want to help the victims.
Okay, so you're even though you were corrupt at that point in time, your heart was still for the victims. You were like, you know what, fuck these guys. I'm gonna plant dope on them to get the case convicted. So you were still in the right frame of mind in terms of your ethics, your ethos. In a weird way, you were justifying it, but yeah. But you were still pure in that thought.
And in reality too, I just didn't like injustice. But if you're a gangster and you respect, and then I'm gonna be cool with you too. And then say you're a gangster and you want to leave that lifestyle, I'm gonna support that. I'm cool with that. So I was very, very fair, you could say, in my own mind. I thought it was fair because I was legit. I respect everybody. At the same time, if you're a jackass doing some evil stuff to innocent people, you're my enemy.
All bets were off.
Yeah, but you're a gangster. You're cool. I'm gonna respect you. Do your thing. That's your life. That's your choice. Just don't go after these people. Don't mess with these people. Then we're cool. But again, you know, when you break that rule, we're gonna have trouble.
As a crash officer, when a new rookie would come in, how would you turn that guy out? How would you get him to blur the line into the world of being corrupt?
Sometimes he might already be broken and tested because somebody brought him in because they voted for him. Everybody knew that he's legit. He squared away to get involved. Or sometimes you just take him down the street and see if we stop a gangster out there, and then if the gangster gets mouthy, I'll be like, hey, why don't you guys go toe to toe? You want to talk crazy to my partner? Fight each other. I'm gonna be the ref. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna be the referee. Now, if you beat my partner up, that's cool. Nothing's gonna happen, and no matter what. But I want you guys to go duke it out. And if the partner was down for it, then that was one way to break him in. There are different ways.
That was one test. But what if he said, but boss, that's against procedure?
Then we're gonna have problems. I'm not gonna work with him. I don't want to work with that guy.
So you guys would ostracize him in the unit. You'd be like,
yeah, I don't want to do with that guy. He's solid. He got my back.
Right.
Can't be trusted.
Yeah, we talked about some of the things that happened in C.R.A.S.H where you'd get certain tattoos if you shot a suspect in the line of duty. Recently, the LA County Sheriff's Department's come under heat for having, division tattoos. What do you think of police officers getting matching tattoos? Is that a form of brotherhood and camaraderie, or does that have a much more sinister meaning behind it?
I think it's both. I think it has both of them because you have that camaraderie of solid guys that you claim to be solid. They got your back. You got each other's back in an elite, tight unit that's got some crazy violence going on, and you guys got to have each other's back. And sometimes you got to step over that line, so you cover up for each other. And then the other one could be you become a criminal too. So now it's become the sinister part. You become both. And I mean, you're gonna get dirty. You get dirty. Once you get dirty, you're already on the other side. You can't come back.
You can't come back.
They're already there.
Yeah. And we talk about that thin blue line of backing up your fellow police officer, no matter what, even in trial. No, you keep your mouth shut, the omerta of police officers.
Right.
But that omerta was violated in your unit by a gentleman named Rafael Perez in 1998. He starts spilling the tea about the unit, and he mentions you specifically as being a troublemaker, a guy they should look at.
Keep your eyes on me, yeah.
Yeah, keep your eyes on you. When you got word Perez was flipping, what did all your crash unit, did you guys meet up at the bar and go, were you guys thinking about knocking him off?
I mean, everybody was talking about taking him out. They wanted to take him out. They were pissed off because he exposed people, but he didn't have dirt on everybody. He had dirt on his own partner, who was Dirty Nino, who he did some dirt with. But he knew that everybody was doing their dirt, but he wasn't hands-on watching him, and he didn't have a case with everybody. But he knew we were all guilty of something, but he couldn't prove a lot of stuff. But everybody was so mad because he exposed the unit for what it was trained to do. It was created for that. So now he's exposed. Everybody wants to hurt him. I want to take him out too. Everybody did.
And Ruben, we're not glorifying this, but what you did made Perez look like a Girl Scout. I mean, you were doing real dirt, so much dirt that you came up on $1 million and 15 keys at a trap house. And that setup was tipped off to you by an informant on the streets.
Yeah, one of my informants.
And where did you find the cash? Was it in the wall, like in the movies where you see it buried in the drywall?
No, this was in a cereal box in the kitchen cabinet. A bunch of cereal boxes full of money. And but once we counted, it was $1 million cash almost. And the 15 kilos were in the garage. And they were washing the kilos of cocaine to double it up on that.
So, and who was watching it? Were they heavily armed or?
They weren't armed, it was just an old couple. It was in a nice clean area of the cities that they wouldn't even suspect that there was something going on in that house.
So it was a safe house, basically?
It was a safe house, yeah.
Okay. So when you got the tip off, did you know the cash was in the cereal boxes, or you tossed the whole house?
No, we just knew that the dope was somewhere in that house. So we just started with our little search system we had, and I hit the kitchen cabinets right away. I found it, it took me like 5 minutes to find it.
Right. And was this older couple, like a Paisa couple?
Like an older Paisa couple.
Okay. And so they were working with the big fellas and just looking after the dope and the cash. You knew where it was. So you were able to find the cash in cereal boxes. And where was the kilos? Where were they, in like a safe or?
In the garage. In
the garage, just shrink wrapped and.
They had them in the sink. Like they looked like they were going to probably cut them and do more of them.
Right. And when you guys did that lick, and I hate to call it a lick, but it is what it is. You robbed these dudes. Did you have to whack up all that money and the dope with your team?
I paid my workers their cut, whatever I was going to pay everybody, and then I had the other workers for me moving the cocaine for me, kilos.
Okay, so you paid each guy what, like 50K?
Some got 50, some got less. It was depending on how much work they worked in.
Yeah.
And I still had to take care of them because at the same time I didn't want them to become snitches on me either. Try to keep them happy. I could have given $5,000, which I should have.
So you had to make a choice when you jack these dealers. Do I go with a big team, or and have less exposure, less money to whack up, or do I go in a two-man team or do it solo? But you do all these mostly in uniform, correct?
Most of them were in uniform.
And did you pull up in a police cruiser?
Yeah, the police cop.
How'd you get the cop car if it wasn't scheduled out for that day?
I had the keys to the captains and lieutenants' cars in the academy. I made copies of the cars, and just to put another black guy in their faces because I was mad at them, I'll go get their car when they weren't working, when they were using them, and I use them for my licks.
Now, what if you're doing a lick and a cruiser that's on duty goes, hey, what the fuck's going on over there? Those are cops. They're not on the schedule. How would you shake those guys off if they pulled up on you?
They're not gonna really ask anything. If they ask him something, I'm just letting them know I'm doing some follow-up investigation or something. They're not gonna really ask. I'll give them the code 4.
What does code 4 mean?
Meaning we're under control. Whatever we got,
we're undercover. Leave us alone.
We handled it. It's simple to say. 4 means we handled it.
So you just flashed them a 4 and they'd keep pushing on down the road, and you guys continue onward.
Doing our dirt, yeah.
Now, when you got that $1 million, were you just like, man, this is the come up of the year? Yeah.
Nah, it was good, but at the same time, I knew there was more waiting for us. I was already hooked on it, so I'm gonna wait for the next one already.
And that $1 million, did you keep that? Obviously in cash. What'd you do with some of that money? Did you fuck it off and buy the new car? Or?
No, I tried to keep it real low. Like I didn't want to flash that down. There'll be no suspicion. But I ended up remodeling my house at that time, and then I started trying to invest money here and there to keep it, washing it.
Right. Now, did you arrest that Paisa couple, that older couple?
No, I didn't make it. I let them go.
You let them go, and did they ask you to produce a warrant or nothing?
No.
You okay.
I acted like I didn't speak any Spanish. I had a translator for me to speak for me. Like I acted I was just the one running the operation, but my translator was going to ask.
So you played it off like you were a white police officer, and it's funny because growing up they used to call you güero. So you played the role like a güero. So you were like the official white cop coming in. So if it ever got back to the big fellas, the Paisa couple would say, "Oh, it was some white cop," and they'd be like, that limits it to the whole department. We don't know how to get them. All right.
I didn't have my name tag either.
You'd always remove your name tag, huh?
Yeah.
Would you remove your wedding ring like seen in the training day?
No, I didn't have a wedding ring.
Okay.
I wasn't married.
Right. But was that something C.R.A.S.H would say, hey, move that wedding ring off your
Yeah,
finger?
they take it off.
Yeah.
Some of the guys, it's police work, players.
Right. No, that's a trip, man, that you came up on $1 million, 15 kilos on your first lick, and that just became an addictive thing thereafter. Now you've got cash in your pocket, but you were smart. Mike Dowd would pull up in a brand new Corvette, park in the lieutenant's space. You didn't do it that way. You were flying low.
I was trying to keep it low so I wouldn't get busted.
Right. And now, are you hearing rumors in the department? Oh man, the Ruben Palomares, man, Rocky over there is just dirty as can be, or you weren't really hearing that?
No, I wasn't hearing that.
Okay. What did other police officers think of Rampart? Were they like, oh, those guys are on the front lines? They had respect for you guys?
Yeah, but at the same time, they knew the C.R.A.S.H operation. Everybody knows how C.R.A.S.H operates in all the different divisions, so they're aware that that's what C.R.A.S.H does. That's how you deal with the gang problem. So it wasn't a surprise. I think it was just a matter of somebody finally opening his mouth up, because everybody knew that that's how they operate. But you have that code of silence. You're not supposed to talk about what's going on behind the scenes. You're getting the job done.
And in '98, when Perez starts spilling the tea on the department, the LAPD moves you over to like a tactical trainer, a self-defense.
They promoted me to a tactical trainer for self-defensive tactics in the department. I got promoted, so I was on the low, but at the same time, that's when I started taking revenge.
And when you picked up that detail, that was a way of like kind of shelving you and do you think the LAPD was trying to cover up the whole thing or no?
No, I don't think so. I think the FBI was involved. I think they wanted to get everybody. I think they were pissed off and they wanted to get everybody, especially our chief.
Okay, they wanted, and who was the chief?
Chief Parks back then.
Parks, yeah.
I think he wanted.
Did you, okay, so you were now being hunted down. Did internal affairs ever kind of question you or after the Perez testimony? So they waited in the tall grass.
They never looked for me. They never hunted me down. They investigated my shootings, but that was it. That was it.
Right. Okay. So basically, you're now in a place where you're teaching self-defense and tactics and that kind of thing. And Perez is spilling the tea. He's pointing everybody out to save his own ass. He got what, 23 years, but only did.
He did like 4 years.
4 years.
He only did 4 years for telling everybody.
And what brought you down as you go to basically be a part of a drop-off with some heavy hitters from Mexico?
We went to San Diego to meet some Colombian guys that were supposed to sell 10 kilos of cocaine to some guys that were actually claiming to be cartels. These Colombian cartels, they're supposed to buy coke from him. Not me, my cousin and his friend. I was just gonna go meet the guy for a collection, but it was a DEA sting operation against those guys.
So you were there for backup for your cousin, right?
Not really. I wasn't even involved in it. They wanted me to go meet the connection for a debt, maybe to collect the debt for him one day. I only went out of my pride. I didn't have to go.
Okay.
It was perfect timing. I got arrested at the right time.
And it was a DEA sting operation.
Against my cousin and his friend. Yeah.
Right. So were those Colombian gentlemen, were they undercovers?
They were DEAs, yeah.
Okay. And they looked the role, and so that was all she wrote. When they roped you up, they're like, holy shit, this guy's an off-duty cop.
Big fish.
We got something here.
Yeah.
And that's what eventually brought you down.
Brought me down, yeah.
And you were sentenced to 18 years, of which you
18
did
years.
16 of.
16, yeah.
So for all those watching, you did pay your debt to society, 16 years. And you go through the jail system and you walk the main line, which was shocking. I thought for sure you'd want to PC up because all those MS guys, 18th Street guys, they would have loved to have cracked an egg on you.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure they would have. And I mean, I was ready to walk the yard because I was like, I'm not gonna get intimidated. I'm not gonna get punked around either. I didn't know the whole system, how it operated yet in there. I was put in solitary confinement for the first 3 months, and I got introduced to a cellmate who was a former House Angel cook. He introduced me to the scripture, to the Bible, and the forgiveness that the Bible teaches, and that started planting a seed in me and started kind of causing me to think that there's something better. Because I was on a revengeful spree. I was on a suicide spree too. I wanted to go out on a mission, on a suicide mission. So I was mad.
Like death by cop or death by gangbanger, it didn't
Everybody,
matter.
I want to get revenge and take everybody out till they take me out. That was my frame of mind.
Okay, and it was a God thing. You were celled up with that HA meth cook because you weren't supposed to be celled up with anyone. You were supposed to be solitary.
Solitary by myself.
What'd the sign say in front of your cell?
It said, do not bunk or wreck with anybody.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden I have a cellmate for 5 days who shouldn't even be in there, but he's preaching the gospel to me, which was the best thing that could ever happen to me.
And that's what changed your whole,
everything. Within me, first I got this peace I never had, and then I started learning about forgiving people. A lot of people that was wanting to get hurt, I started forgiving people.
Right, and I asked you, if you saw Rafael Perez today, what would you do to him?
Nothing. I got nothing to tell him or talk to him about, but I ain't got no ill feelings towards him anymore. It's over.
So you've drained all that negative, toxic energy. It's gone. It's gone. And you're now helping kids, youth, at-risk youth, through fighting, through boxing.
Mental health.
Mental health. And mental health is the big subject of the day because you had PTSD before it was even a thing.
Yeah,
it was.
You were from the shootings.
Yeah.
And I recovered, I healed from it, and now I'm able to help other people. I went to school for addiction studies and for also counseling people with all traumas. So that's what I do. I work with people with that background, and I also work with sports, boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, to help them like kind of get that stress release part of it. But then we go into our deeper roots of our problems.
Right. I've talked to a few LAPD friends, and they think you're an absolute piece of shit. Fuck Ruben. He tarnished the shield. Yeah. What is your message to those guys watching? Like, what would you like to tell those good officers that are playing the game right?
I really strongly believe that you can't be a cop without a strong. You could be a cop, give me anyone, but if you want to be healthy as a cop, you really need that relationship with God. You really need to have that relationship with Jesus, and you really need to have that one outlet, which is decompress with the scriptures, prayer life. You have to have a fellowship with individuals that are same-minded to help you, because you're going to see and go through stuff that not everybody goes through. And at the same time, you could be a tough guy, but that job's going to make you tougher, more callous. You could be a soft guy with a lot of issues, but that job's going to play an impact in your life in different ways. It don't matter what background you come from, work in the field or work in any assignment, it's going to impact you, because you see stuff that everybody sees or does. You do stuff that not everybody does. So you need that. You need that outlet. You need that balance in your life, but you need that inner healing from what you see or deal with.
You need that faith component.
Yeah, you do.
In the movie Training Day, there's a great scene where he goes, to be a good narcotics officer, you have to have dope in your system. And when you think of the analogy for crash unit, to be a good crash officer, you have to be a gangster. Is that kind of the feeling that was implemented over at the Rampart and all the other crash units? You
become like that because you're dealing with them and you want to beat them. So how do you beat them if you got to be better than them? So it starts happening. Unbeknownst to you, you become that and more. What you hate more, you become more and worse than them, because you become more savvy, more slick, and you want to beat them. So you use the system to your advantage, because if you know that they're robbing and intimidating people, well then you know that they intimidate them, they're not going to have victims. So then you start beating them to their game. You beat them to their game. You become slicker and smarter than them, and you use the system to beat them.
And that's kind of the sad reality of being a working gang detail.
Yeah.
Is you got to be rough and tough. You can't be soft, man.
They're not soft.
Yeah.
So, they're at war every day.
Right. And you and I, we laughed at that saying, it takes a wolf to protect the sheep, but you have a funnier saying.
You gotta be a hunter.
A hunter to catch a wolf.
Catch a wolf, and to catch a bear, to whatever you gotta catch, you gotta be a good hunter. That's what I was, a hunter.
You were a hunter. You were hunting down the bad guys, and you were doing bad things to protect the good people.
Yeah.
Ruben Palomares, thank you so much for your time today, sir, and your great work.